All right, so today on the Ortho Perspective, we're joined by Marty Nichols. Marty is a veteran of the ortho industry. Um, he got to start with DePuy in the late 80s, and he spent time with Medacta, with Omni Life Science, and he currently helps smaller companies build out their distribution. And Marty is also the founder of Physicians First Bank. And anybody who's on LinkedIn in the orthopedic space has probably interacted with Marty on some level. So welcome, Marty.
Thanks, Stu. Really excited about this. It's good. It was great to chat with you at AUKUS, and now I appreciate you bringing me on your show.
Oh, you are welcome. So as you just mentioned, we met at AUKUS for the first time. I think we've had a phone call and we've interacted on LinkedIn. But I had a chance to talk with you about Physicians First Bank and what you're doing there. So can you just kind of give an overview on, what is Physicians First Bank and how did you come up with the idea to start a bank?
Sure, I'd love to. And just for clarity, it's Physicians First Bancorp at this time. We don't own the bank yet. I have to say that for my regulatory friends, keeping all that clean. And the concept behind all this was pretty plain and simple. I came into the industry as a distributor kind of by happenstance. I was in the construction business and then built a building for a guy that worked for DePuy that we became friends, and I ended up getting into the medical device sales. And one of my other friends that I went to grade school with and grew up with, he went on through a medical residency, an engineering program, a medical residency, and then a sports medicine fellowship. And as we've gotten together and talked about it through the years, we're not sure which one took the better path. We kind of went down, through the struggles with it. And the struggle with it's been for all of our career, and I know this is going to ring home with you, is that each year we work very hard to do what we do. You as an independent distributor, you've taken the challenge to represent the doctors and go find the best products for them, for what works best for their patients. And in doing so, you work very hard, but every year you get a cut from the hospital on what you get reimbursed through the form of capitation. And physicians also get cut. Their payment's been cut every single year since I've been in this industry. And distributors and reps and physicians have been told each time, you can make it up in volume. So much of the industry now is focused on how can we make these doctors more efficient? And that's what you do a lot of and do a very good job of, is how to make it efficient so they can do a couple more cases each day. So they can see 6 or 7 patients more each day to make up for the loss in revenue they're getting from the cut and try to make more. And the reality is we're close to the glass ceiling. There's just only so many hours in the day. And we're about as low on the cuts of what you get for your medical devices and what they get paid. When I got into the industry, a physician made $5,250 to do a total joint procedure. We kept the patients in the hospital for 10 to 14 days. The doctor was able to round on that patient and get paid for it the very next day. And today, that same doctor for the same Medicare patient gets $1,043. We're discharging the patient many times in 4 hours, but almost always in the same day. And that $1,043 now has to also cover their 90-day episode of care. So how much more can they do? And my partner and I sat down and we kept looking at this and started saying, how can we generate revenue or even just capture some of the revenue that we as an industry generate without necessarily just being more efficient and without necessarily just doing another total joint in each day or seeing another patient. And the net reality of it is, when you come down to it, everything in orthopedics or everything in medicine hinges around the pen, the script of a physician. It's their relationship with the patient. It's their script that they write to even buy our implants. And you and I interacted on one of your LinkedIn posts here recently. That's one of the ways that I think these physicians can start to capture back a little bit, is own your script. It's your script, own it. And that led us to physicians generally pay their bills very well. They're one of the least defaulting professions in the United States. They float or are responsible for the float of an awful lot of money. And the banking industry, like the big hospital, has kind of forgotten them. They like to loan them money for cars and stuff like that. But do any banks keep their doors open till 8 o'clock at night? Instead, they expect the banker to bank between 8 and 5 when they're lucky. They're starting surgeries at 7 in the morning and many times not walking out till 7 at night. So we came up with the concept of taking a small community bank and have taken the ambulatory surgery center model that we learned that when you allow the physicians to have a small investment in the entity, and then the entity focuses on their goal, which is taking care of MSK patients. Mm-hmm. The throughput becomes better. The work environment's a better work environment, caters more to their schedule. The patients are happier. The outcomes became better, and the cost of the service came down. And we've simply just taken that concept and said, let's apply it to banking and bring physicians in and allow them to capture and control better, or have a better control of their financial future. And this is open for reps and OR directors and anybody that's within the musculoskeletal world, we believe fits within this organization.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting to me because, you made the joke of banking hours, and that's a very real thing, is that there's a lot of people who work a lot of hours, correct? Mm. But it seems, from my experience, orthopedic surgeons with their busy schedule, they have very little time to take care of patients and to do things on traditional working hours, unless it's in between cases. And if they have enough time in between cases doing it, they're not as efficient as they need to be, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They used to have that time, right? But by making them more efficient, that was some of what we squeezed away from them by making them more efficient. They used to have time between surgery because a lot of them would run one room, mm-hmm. So they could at least maybe go to a phone and call their banker and do stuff while that room was turned over. But when they would cut their reimbursement so low, we're now making them do 2 rooms. So they literally walk out of one room to the other. And how many times do you as a rep, you're in one room and people in the next room are saying, hey, we need you to help open the instruments. I mean,
correct. There is something, orthopedic surgeons, very hardworking, very adaptable, and very innovative and creative on ways to get more done with fewer resources. So, I applaud your effort in doing this. So what does that actually look like from the standpoint of a chance for people to invest in it?
So what we're looking for is we also learn lessons that we learned in ambulatory surgery centers and stuff. If one physician buys an ambulatory surgery center, it can be the nicest place to work in the world. But if the others don't have ownership in it, people won't bring cases there. That's kind of been ingrained. Physicians compete for a spot in medical school. They compete for a spot in residency. They compete for a fellowship, and then they compete for their job. So they haven't really traditionally played very well. And that's kind of the second thing that we're hoping to do with this, is bring an entity that allows these physicians to come together in an entity that's outside of Stark and outside of the competition of their regular groups. So what we've done is the minimum investment is $15,000 per individual. We hope that this allows for residents and fellows fresh out of school to be able to invest. We hope that allows for reps, for OR directors, for people that are within the industry and touch the money to be able to invest. And then to ensure that no one entity has too much of it, we've capped it at $150,000 per individual investment. And what we're doing at the beginning, we talked about bank versus bank corp. Yeah. What we've done is we've opened up, we are a licensed bank holding company, and we have an escrow account. My partners and I are carrying the risk for all this right now, and the investments that we're asking for go into an escrow account. When we trigger the money we need to buy one of the 3 banks we're talking to, what will happen is our CPAs will go in, and in the banking world, they use what's called a digital vault, and they'll look at all of the numbers and everything. They'll produce a pro forma of those numbers up to the minute. It will get sent out to all the people that put money into that bank account. They get an opportunity to review that. And then they can say, look, maybe the timing isn't as good when I started this, or I really don't like those numbers. They can rescind their investment and walk away. Those that want to stay with us and go, the money will then roll out of that escrow account. We'll acquire the target bank. We've got software group that we're working with, and we have some really nice white glove software, counselor level software for them and stuff. And then we'll roll that up, and then we'll be a bank that primarily focuses on the musculoskeletal industry.
Yeah. Primarily, but that won't be the only focus, correct?
No.
It's still anybody would be able to do business at your bank.
Sure.
But you are going to, you're going to cater to the busy professional.
Think of it this way, Stu. One of the things that I don't think people give enough credit to the physicians and stuff, look at the amount of jobs that physicians create across the United States. If you look at the data right now from the AAOS, the average orthopedic surgeon employs between 8 and 10 FTEs. All right. So our goal in the first round is, what's that?
Each individual surgeon, correct?
Each individual surgeon. So a group of 30 orthopedic surgeons will have between 280 and 312 employees, working underneath of them. Well, those employees work the same hours that the physicians work. So if we can provide them a means to bank with us as well too, and software, and even have technology within their clinics, either an ATM machine or the software that we're doing on the deal, that allows them a more convenient chance to bank during the day, it's going to make their working environment a better working environment. It's going to allow physicians to hire better quality people. And then a substantial amount of patients float through these clinics and through these surgery centers that have needs for money for deductibles for patient deductible loans.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I've often thought of a similar thing. I didn't know those specific statistics on number of people that they employ. But if you look at the orthopedic industry, not only the people they're employing in their clinics, offices, but people like myself, obviously selling primarily joint replacements. If it wasn't for orthopedic surgeons, I wouldn't have income, and the huge industry that has been created. And it is a shame when you start thinking about, without them, none of this musculoskeletal care can take place, correct?
Absolutely. Lab techs. Imaging. Think how much lab techs and imaging happens and stuff, all centered around their script and their patient.
Correct. But where are they actually in the pecking order of healthcare?
MSK?
Correct.
That's a good data point. I should probably look up and know, and I'm going to have to write myself a note.
Right.
We're definitely in the top 3. Forever it used to be cardiovascular was king, so you follow, one of the best litmus tests is follow who the hospitals cater to the most, right? And cardiovascular has always gotten pretty much whatever equipment they want, they were king. So those surgeons, neurosurgery tends to drive a substantial amount, of revenue. And now the newest and latest is MSK. And what's really interesting about the MSK is look at the dynamics of that. As I said early on, we started out keeping these patients 10 to 14 days, right? It was the physician, not the hospital, not the insurance company, that fought to get those patients out of that hospital sooner. Think of the improvements that have happened in the care of the patient that have been driven by the physician, fought tooth and nail by the hospital and the insurance companies, that have made the overall outcomes in the overall musculoskeletal care and business so much better.
Correct. Well, I also think of this all the time too, is the pecking order. What I did mean by that also is that I agree that they're the ones that they're close to the top on who hospitals want to work with. But at the same time, their reward for that has stayed so flat compared to others. But what they do, and they just keep working and working to help patients, help their lives improve. Even the discharge, fighting to get them out of the hospital quicker, because the hospital, as my dad, an orthopedic surgeon, always used to say, the hospital's where all the sick people go. So you don't want your patients there very long.
This is one of the other realities, Stu. And I think this is one of the things that the manufacturers and the hospitals have always struggled with the relationship between their reps, and the doctors. They think it's just pure friend based, and it's not. It's an alignment of goals and an understanding of the industry. Insurance companies and hospitals always look at healthcare from the revenue down. I have so much money that's either making me money or it's losing me money. If I can cut $300 off the implant, it adds to my bottom line. They look at it from the revenue down. Physicians and reps look at healthcare from the patient up. And this is one of the things that's very, very similar. If you're a rep and your case doesn't go well, there's a glitch in the case or the outcome isn't good, you stand a chance to lose that doctor, right? If the doctor has a bad outcome, word gets around, they start to lose their patient base. It doesn't matter how efficient they are if they don't have the patient base to fill, that need and that void. So looking at healthcare from the patient up or the outcome up is just a better solution to providing the care and healthcare.
100%. So we've gotten a little off track here. I love what you're doing. If there is someone involved in MSK, whether that's a surgeon, PAs, reps, etc., that is interested in having a further conversation to see if this would be a fit for them, what's the best way for them to get a hold of Marty?
Well, I can put up my numbers. Probably the easiest way is just remember PF Bancorp, and it's pfbancorp.com. That's our website. It's up. It's got a contact me page. It's got my cell phone number, and it's got my email on it, which is simply marty@pfbancorp.com. And we're actually upgrading that to put some more functionality and features and stuff in it right now. But that's the best way to do it. And then we're more than happy. As a matter of fact, this morning I started out at about 6 o'clock this morning for some doctors on the East Coast. I'll open up a Zoom meeting for people prior to their clinics, or tomorrow evening I have one that will go from 7:30 in the evening after physicians get out of their clinics and stuff to just open up the deal, discuss with them, share some numbers on what we're doing and how they can get involved and what the upside for them to do so is.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time for you, Marty. I really love what you're doing here. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to educate me further from our conversation at AUKUS, and hopefully this creates a little bit of intrigue and interest from people that are in this space.
Greatly appreciate it. I love what you're doing and your colleagues, and happy you invited me in to be part of the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.